In politics, you're either on message or you are losing. Let's get to it. Welcome to On Message, a weekly look at where the battle lines are drawn and who is winning the war of words. This week, meet the candidates. Last week, we looked at the newest entrant into the 2022 U.S. Senate race. 3 people have now thrown their hats into the ring to challenge incumbent Mike Lee. And when you're running against an incumbent, one of the most important things you do is introduce yourself to voters. Now, I should mention there are 3 Democrats also challenging Lee, but I couldn't find an intro video, so for our purposes here today, we'll just focus on these 3. One of the few advantages a challenger has is that the public has a perception of the incumbent, and fresh-faced candidates can not only put their best foot forward, they can do so while subtly, or not so subtly, mentioning why the current guy has to go. Remember the old head and shoulders mantra?
Head and shoulders? You don't have dandruff. Exactly.
Head and shoulders, because you never get a second chance to make a first impression.
So let's look at how each of the challengers has chosen to say hello. Former State Representative Becky Edwards hasn't rolled out the longer 2 to 4 minute video introduction that has become typical to launch a campaign. She's opted instead for a series of 30-second spots so far.
Better politics starts with our leaders, and it's time for better representation.
Now, Edwards introduces herself with friendly, warm colors, a nicely produced spot that shows credibility, and she keeps using the word better while advocating for politics where leaders work together to find solutions. What she's indicating to viewers without saying it directly is that Senator Lee does not do that. Lee's other intra-party challenger is Allie Isom, the former Deputy Chief of Staff to Governor Gary Herbert. Now, Isom used her first spot to kick off a listening tour. Her opening video was less polished and more down-to-earth. She puts on red running shoes and pledges to walk a mile in every Utah community.
I'm less interested in conferences and speeches and more interested in Main Street and community councils, in real-life problems and fresh ideas, in ranches and startups, in fifth-generation Utahns, and those who come and stay for our way of life.
Isom speaks out against the rancor and weaponized words associated with D.C. politics. She also pledges to run a different kind of campaign, which was a tactic used successfully by Governor Cox last year. We'll see if Isom can run her version of that playbook as the race heats up next year. And just last week, independent candidate Evan McMullen also jumped in the race.
I'm running to replace Mike Lee and represent Utah and our values in the United States Senate. I'm not running as a Republican or a Democrat, but as a patriot committed to defending our nation.
Now, on last week's On Message, we looked at McMullen's decision to run as an independent and the advantages he gets from that. His opening video here, though, includes references to his pioneer heritage, his role in the war on terrorism, and has shots of him praying with his family. He's hitting all those notes. Thematically, his message has the same general focus as Edwards and Isom. We need to elect better leaders who will work together for the people. We need cooperation to get things done, and a general backlash to the vitriolic quagmire Washington, D.C. has become. These are calculated strategies backed by some degree of polling and focus groups, no doubt. Successful politicians find a way to frame their principles in a way that taps into what voters are already feeling. And it's clear these 3 challengers have more than a hunch that they are selling what Utah voters want. That's it for this week. More On Message in the next issue of the Utah Political Underground. Make sure you visit the site and sign up for our weekly email update. You can find more On Message videos, in-depth Utah political stories and analysis, plus podcasts and more at utahpoliticalunderground.com.